No, I was like, you're gonna have to put in your description, like it's a black guy. He sounds so white. Like, I know I worked on this for so long. Not really. I'm from the suburbs. I like it.
Heck yeah.
Well, why don't we just jump right in, man? I don't know. There's no we're just trying to figure this out too. So
Yeah.
Don't feel like we know everything. Do you want this higher?
Let's see. Either way, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sound good.
Whatever your comfort level is.
Nice. Now I see what this is like, the listening on the other side.
Yeah.
Because I've watched a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, like a lot of them. And I watch usually the ones where he's got like a PhD person, but people always talk about the headphones.
Yeah.
I'm like, now I understand.
Yeah, it's a way to self-monitor, kind of.
Yeah.
It can change
Yeah,
quite a bit.
It's really intimate. It sounds like someone's right up on your shoulder.
So I can edit anything out.
Okay.
And even if we have like awkward silences or pauses and we just start looking at each other like, what's next? Like that can all come out. So
yeah,
don't worry about it. You can say whatever you want and be like, cut that shit out later if you want.
No, you're good. I don't know. I think pretty cool with whatever. Sometimes I can ramble on, so I'll try not to ramble too much.
No, ramble on, man.
Ramble. This is the story of DJ.
Yeah.
You're right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's, I almost wrote a book a long time ago, The Life of a DJ, but I'm DJ, and they think it's about music, but it's really about a lot of crazy shit. But I haven't written that yet.
Is it still an interest?
What would chapter 1 be called?
Chapter 1 would probably just be like the beginning, just how things got started.
Start there, man. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Tell
this
us.
isn't even about like construction. It's just like about life.
Sure.
You enter life naive kind of, and then you go through experience A, B, and C, and then you open your eyes to different things. And then it's like, what I've learned is like what you've been told is not exactly what reality is. And so, you grow and learn. Some people don't grow, and then, you build from there. But that honestly kind of feeds into my interest with construction because, I went to school up at CSU. I got a degree in health and human sciences. And then, I did a lot of what I was supposed to do, my beginning of life. You're like, get good grades, go to class, do this, pay all your taxes. I mean, I still pay taxes, but, and it's like one of those things where it's like, I should get everything then because I did what I'm supposed to do, right? And then you're like, shit, that's not how the real world is. And so I know I had like a job at a hospital. It was a post-op hospital. I enjoyed that, but it was like, got a couple awards, got a promotion, glass ceiling. It's like, oh, go back to school. I'm like, okay. And then I kind of started learning about different types of income. You've got your portfolio, passive, personal income, and then earned income and stuff like that. And so I was like, all these jobs just go towards earned income.
So, DJ, how long did you do the route with your degree? The health.
So I did it for about 4 to 5 years. I did it for about 4 to 5 years coming out of CSU. And so that was what year was that? It was about like 2013 or so, 2013. And so I really loved it, and it was one of those things where you're like, people hear it and it sounds really good. You're like, oh, I'm taking orders from doctors. I'm writing blood this, blood that, working with nurses, therapy. Like, oh my gosh, and it was rewarding, saving people and stuff like that. But I did a lot of the administrative parts of that. And I did some of the like tech stuff also. But then, I was on the code team. So if anybody starts to kick the bucket, you go try to save them, or they're DNR, which means you don't save them and just let them go into the light. But it was really rewarding, but I was like, I'm not making what I feel like my efforts are being. And I saw the nurses in the same situations where their efforts are tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they basically diagnose the patients and they would write what the doctors should do, and then the doctors just simply cross-check it and approved it. So inevitably, the liability falls on the doctors, but the doctors kind of expect the nurses to all do the hard work, being like, "This is what they need.
Yep.
This is what we see. This is that." And so I was like, "Oh, well, this nurse, she's making like 30 something an hour. That's maybe I should shoot for that." Then I'm like, "Oh, wait, you've been here for 45 years. Oh, okay." I'm
Yeah.
like, What else could I do in 45 years and be making more than that, or be making, something that I'm more passionate about?"
So so what? So the final straw was you just didn't see the money potential
Right.
in the right amount of time. What was your next move? Did you find a job first, or did you leave that career and then had to think about it for a while? What did that look like?
So that was I actually ended up not getting into too much trouble, but this was the same time I was balancing my other job in the DJ booth. And so I had 3 days at the hospital, 3 days in the DJ booth. And so one time I crossed both of those together and took the doctors to the DJ booth, and I advise not to do that. So I got them in there and they partied a little bit before the real, nightlife people came out. But still, I was like, you guys shouldn't see what I do on the weekends. We'll keep that covered up. But basically, I ended up leaving because I was dealing with some life situations with like an ex-girlfriend, and so that ended up bringing me back down to Denver. And that's when I kind of started more in the construction, hands-on, like blue collar work. So I was doing some like handiwork, and then I was building like hospital, not hospital hardware, but just like different items that are used in the hospital, like certain crash carts, certain cages, and so maybe it's different types of beds. I know those are usually through Stryker, but then there's other like little things that you can build. So that's when I started like getting my hands a little dirty. And then I was also doing work with like FedEx and Amazon first. And that's where I first started experiencing like you're gonna grind for this many hours, and then you're gonna really learn to feel tired. Then I actually got recruited by FedEx, and they offered me a lot more money, and that was just like like you're running nonstop, and then you're driving nonstop, so you're just in like attack mode 24/7. And so there was a couple years of that, plus the other handiwork, and I really enjoyed working with tools and building stuff. And what I kind of realized after a while was like I like creating stuff in the for people, but also like in the world. And so, like a lot of these other jobs, obviously the hospital was rewarding because you're saving people and it's nice to watch people recover. And then, but like construction is kind of like you're essentially like a creator almost. Like you may look at it as like plans, you may look at it as like, the plans come up on your desk. You have to execute this. We got these deadlines here. Those. So there's a lot to it. But when it's all said and done, like someone is coming and going to live in that unit. So you just created the rubric for somebody's life. Someone's going to be in that room for X amount of years, and so it's like being a part of that is what I found was really rewarding because some people look at it as like like let's say like I work with I guess I should say this for right now I'm working with a subcontractor and we do doors, windows. We have a couple siding jobs right now, but I do mostly specialize in like doors, windows, and different things like that. And so when I go to put a door in, especially if it's in like a house or even in the apartments, it's like I visualize it as like somebody's going to be using this door for X amount of time. And I'm like, every time it opens, closes, or does whatever, gets looked through, that's a representation of like whatever I've done. and I wanted to be as best as I could. And so it's rewarding for me to like be to kind of be like a creator of like something that's tangible. Cause like when I was at FedEx and Amazon, it's like I'm doing a chore. I'm like
Mhm.
looking at this cool stuff people are buying. Then I could make it competitive and try to be faster than other drivers. And I think I told you guys this before. I had a diesel truck at FedEx. She was an old girl, but she had a nice turbo in there. So I remember I'd come into the neighborhood, just, and the Karens are like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I got a package for you right here, Karen." What did I call? It's like, yeah, it's a jungle pack, especially for you. And um, so so
So it was two things. It was the money and also the fulfillment you get from creating something.
yes, that's true. Yes, and so to elaborate on the money side of things, like I had mentioned earlier about the different types of income, construction kind of gave you a window to make different types of money. And so by that I mean like I can have earned in it's all pretty much earned, but like if I have a crew or like let's say if I do private work where I've got my own crew, because the I have a LLC also, but that's like my private LLC. So so I'm subcontracted through the company that worked with you guys, but I was hired on by them. And then on the side, I also have a subcontracting group where I can do like little private things with some of my other, insurances and certifications. But that's just like little stuff. But if I get something where, it takes a decent amount of work, I hire some guys and they can get stuff done, and I can teach them and different stuff like that. And so that's where like I can have somebody doing something for me over here while I'm doing this work over here, and I've got multiple areas of income.
Yep.
And so that's where construction has given me avenues to maneuver in different directions. So I'm not just stuck with you clock in and then you make money and then you clock out and then you're done. So, I think everybody looks for different avenues to hustle and stuff like that. But my biggest thing was trying to hustle, but not hating whatever I'm doing. And that's been my focal point since I was younger is I don't want to have to go to something where I completely hate it. Or if I dislike it, then I'm at least working towards something else. So like the hospital, never hated it. You know, Amazon and FedEx was kind of like a stepping stool. And then it's kind of like a stepping stool, but I had fun because I'm like a car person also, not like just enthusiast. If you ask me to rebuild an engine, I don't know what you'll end up with, but I like to drive, and so that's kind of why stuck with. I was working with FedEx while I was building like other things for the hospitals, but that was kind of just like part time work. And When I started working on the houses, houses, it was much more, it was rewarding and different things like that. But yeah, as far as time goes, I felt like my time was much better spent doing that. And then as far as money goes, I'm making money from different avenues. So it was really nice. Lately, it's been a little bit slower, but I know I've talked with a bunch of different people, and it's like I think it's been slow for a lot of people, at least for like the commercial apartments and stuff like that. There might be some other private contracts, but so it's been a little bit slower than I'd like.
Do you still value your degree?
Yes, I do.
Are you glad you went and got that, or do you feel like you could have got an earlier start in what you're doing now?
Um, that's a good question. I think I think I wouldn't change anything if I had to go back. I know a lot of people say that, but one of my mentors and professors in college, they're like, the skills that you're learning right now, you'll be able to use every day as you get older. And then they're like, and then I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, of course I'm going to use it because I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be using this every day because it's my degree. But I didn't understand that college is, unless you go to get your PhD or you get your master's, it's like a test to see if you're capable of completing it. But then the skills you learn in that process of completing it, you can apply it to everyday life. And so, say you're going to show up and then you do that. Or like today, if I'm going to be fashionably late or run on BTP, Black People Time, you call. I'm joking, kind of, but you call and say, "Hey, where? Like, I'll be an hour late," or "Hey, I'm 15 minutes away." That way, you're not just sitting there like, DJ somewhere in La La Land. But that's all skills that I learned from college. I also took some extra psychology and sociology in college, which has helped me with a lot of social situations. And that's one thing I really value was, you get extracurricular, extra credit, or you have things that are outside of your major kind of. And so I took maybe 2 or 3 extra classes of sociology and psychology. And so it's like, helps me think about that. Plus some of the other podcasts that I watch, like with Joe Rogan and stuff like that, it's like continuing education, in my opinion, because they'll talk to other people who are, like PhDs in psychology or neuroscientists, or, he's had a bunch of people on there. But, like one skill that I try to get better at is perception versus perception. And so everybody has a very good perception of what they perceive. So it's like, I'm sitting right here, I'm talking, like you guys are listening, I'm in a room, I'm looking at this. But then for me to be able to analyze what you're perceiving is my perception of you. And so for me to be able to think, like on my way over here, Cody's probably sitting there. He's probably like, "Where's he at?" Like, "Oh, I know I shouldn't have talked to this motherfucker. He's not going to be here." So then I'm able to analyze where you may be at a given time, and then I can give you information that helps you feel better about whatever's going on.
Right.
And so that's what's hard for, like, something I've been working on as far as like psychology wise. But
I think there's a ton of big personalities in this industry.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we've all ran into people that can be overly aggressive, can be passive aggressive, can be super nice,
Yeah.
have kind of ulterior motives to get something out of you. Do you think those extracurricular or extra credit classes help you navigate stuff like that today?
Oh yeah. 100%. And just specifically in relationships to like construction, one of the things that I come across, and you guys as general contractors can kind of like, let us know what needs to be done, but then sometimes us subcontractors need to talk amongst ourselves. And so it helps me identify, like, why is this person trying to get me to do X, Y, and Z? I'm like, are they doing something, to just benefit themselves? Am I going to get my ass chewed out afterwards? Am I going to lose time doing this? Is my deadline going to be, messed up? And so it's kind of allows me to decipher people's intentions on what they're asking me in the workplace. So like a couple examples of that.
I mean, I remember you being very vocal about that in the moment sometimes, which I appreciated.
100%.
It helped me realize that you were trying to figure out, what the purpose of something was, why that was being asked of you, and we'd have a real discussion at that point. I think that open communication can go a long way.
Yeah. And so, we had, there's another job site I think I talked to you guys about. I won't drop any names, but it was a pretty challenging job site. Like everybody's huevos got tested, or and so there was one GC. He was a brickie, and he went out of his way to help one of the one of the supervisors, and then the supervisor took his help and used it against him to leverage his being behind time. So the subcontractor went out of his way to help the supervisor, and then it put that contractor behind schedule by like maybe 2 or 3 days. And then in the big meeting, the supervisor was like, "Well, he was doing this, and that, and now he's behind. So we're waiting on him." And then everyone looked at each other like, "Well, didn't he do that to help you out?" And then he looked at the supervisor and was like, "You motherfucker." And I was like, "Oh shit, yeah." So I mean, the one thing that I've learned is uh, sometimes people will be nice, but then you'll get thrown under the bus later. So you always have to cross your T's and dot your I's. Excuse me. And so like I don't think you guys ever experienced me being nasty or anything like that, but there's been a couple other job sites where, I'm always nice, but then when I can tell that you're intending to like throw me under the bus, or if you're trying to blame me for something that that I've verified and everything like that, then I'm gonna call you out on it, and I'm not gonna hesitate to say anything about it. Sorry.
So
What do you think the root of that is? Why do people do that? What's the goal, I guess, on the backside of that?
Um, sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna have to cough for a second.
Good.
Sorry. You guys can edit that out.
there's a drinking fountain over there if you need it.
Is there?
Yeah, if you want it.
I think.
It's right out by the door.
Okay, let me grab a
Yeah,
drink real
of
quick.
course. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, guys. Sometimes in my past life, my throat and nose gets a little dried up.
He's back. So I wanted to we glazed over a bunch of really, really good stuff. I want to talk a little bit more in detail from when you left the medical industry and how did that transition work from getting your job to do the side stuff that you were doing?
So basically it was just through networking. And so when I left the hospital, it was 50-50 by choice, 50-50 because I was dealing with a bunch of shit. And so I had an ex. Hey, you guys remember the Johnny Depp case? She was more or less kind of like that. And then so I was kind of dealing with that, and it was interrupting with my work. And so they basically gave me the decision, like, you can either leave or we're going to make you leave by firing you. And I was like, I'm going to go figure my shit out. And then that's what ended up having me go. I ended up being forced to move back to Denver from Fort Collins. And then once I did that, that's when I kind of reconnected with certain people. I was working at like Amazon part-time, and then just like trying to do little busy stuff. So I was helping build those different hospital carts and different things. Just like we would build them at a shop, and then they would get sent to the hospitals. And so
At that point, have you already started your LLC, your company?
No. I didn't start that until what year did I start that? I didn't start that until probably around 2022 or something like that. 2000. This was all going on maybe like around 2018 or so, or something like. So it was just bunch of little odd jobs, getting used to like working with tools. And then that's kind of like where I first used, and this was through a neighbor of mine who was who built these different things. And so I just kind of like helped him out in the beginning. And then I ended up started working with David. And then that's where I started getting experience on the bigger sites. And so since I had a little bit of experience, I was working the commercial sites. First was like 4-story, 3-story apartments, and then work your way up. And so now he gives me like the 15-story, sites where it's a little bit more tricky. And I've also been just like supervising different things for him, also for his company, also. And so it's been a good experience thus far. But as far as the transition goes, I would say it was just kind of like through experience. And that's one thing a lot of people say. People go to school for a long time, then they get thrown like right into big projects. And then there's like a learning curve where you put down what you learned from the school, and then you have what actually happens in the field. And the field is its own little beast. And so, you learn through experience. But I would say after I was working, had moved to FedEx, was still doing side jobs, and then I ended up leaving FedEx because I was just kind of like, over it doing chores like I was telling you. So I was like, I like doing construction. Everything I've made, even those little things here and there, and hell, I'm like, I've enjoyed that. So that's when I looked to try to get into construction a little bit more deeply. And growing up playing football and sports, it's like construction gives you that like you really get that. I don't want to say like animal like mentality, but like you get that like edge. You're like, you've been lifting heavy shit all day, and then you're walking in the supermarket, and the mom, like, little house mom walks by, and they're like, "Oh, I can smell the sweaty pecs," and you're just like, "Yeah." Like, because you can definitely tell the ladies who like you with a little dirt under your nails, or they're like, "Oh my God, he's dirty," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I can pick you up with one arm, Stacy," And so I like that. I like that part of it too. It's like, you get a fulfillment from what you're doing, but then you also realize that there's people who maybe want to do construction and they can't. And like I've had guys who I've hired who are like, I want to, be better. I want to do more. I want to, like, if I try to lift a window, I want to, let me do it on my own. And then I'm like, you can't, bro. I'm like, I'm sorry. You are doing your best. Like one of it was one of the guys that was at your site. They worked really hard. I mean, we did a good job with you guys. But at least I think so. But he was like, let me try to lift this by myself. And I'm like, listen, bro, I haven't signed any like safety violation, anything yet. I don't want to start with you. And so I had to, teach them to work together and stuff like that. Except I did fire that one guy from when that was there, because he was another example of me using my psychological and skills, because he'd just say, "Oh yes, DJ, I understand." And I'm like, "Do you?" And I'm like, "Okay, I've been nice twice. What do you think's gonna happen on strike number 3?" Mm-hmm. And then when I let him go, I just said,
that was a safety issue, right?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that scenario? What happened?
Yeah. So he was what floor were we on? We were on like
8 or 9.
We were up there where it was like, as you go up, barometric pressures change and stuff like. Well, I mean, I was on a slab, but either way, the wind picks up there anyway. And so what he was doing, what I realized he was doing, he had his harness on. He had everything looked good, but I think his mind was like, since I'm holding the window, and he was like a bigger guy. He was a bigger guy, and so
he felt anchored.
Yeah. And you're like, go lift. And he's like, I lift. And he lift. And so what ended up happening was, I think he thought, like, since he's holding the window from the inside, when he sets it on the prefabricated panel, like it counts as him being inside. Like he thought he was inside, but he didn't understand the concept of like, you and the window are both not connected to anything. If the window goes out of the building, you're going to go with the window, and you guys are going to be Aladdin for like a minute or a second and a half, and then I'm going to have a lot of paperwork to fill out.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing was, back to what we were talking about, psychology and stuff. The thing was, if I had felt like his intentions was a misunderstanding, like he didn't understand, like he thought that was okay, then maybe I would have argued for him, or maybe even, been like, but based on the stuff I told him in the past, I knew he understood, and it was just pure disrespect for what he was supposed to be doing. So I understood that his intentions were to be negligent and disrespectful. And so I'm like, if I can decide that you interpret that your intentions are negative like that, then I'm not gonna, like, I walked up to him and I was like, "What did you do?" And he was just like, "Oh, no, it's okay, dude." I'm like, "No, it's not." Like, what? I'm like, "What do you think is gonna happen?" And then he was just like, "Well," and I'm like, "All right, get your stuff and go." I'm like, "You know how this works, right?" And then that's all the conversation we had. He grabbed his shit and walked downstairs, and I think I took a picture of him walking to his car and sent it to you. And I was like, "All right, he's gone. That's cut and dry. That's all that needed to be said." And he ended up messaging me later on for work, and I was just like, "No, bro." I'm like, "I fired you. We didn't lose work." I was like, you disrespected what I'm telling you to do, and so I don't need that." And like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And we're not going to get to fool me twice. And so, but that's kind of from a construction standpoint. Um, just to elaborate like on what you're talking about as far as like in construction and seeing things from people, I've seen a lot of different crews be run differently. And um I've come to appreciate, and this is what I try to do, you have a difference between like bosses and leaders, right? And so you have the guys who boss people around, and you have the guys who are like micromanaging, and then it's like, that having people that are being productive out of fear ends negatively, 8 to 9 times out of 10. And so what I try to do with my crews, I would try to lead them, lead them by example, and then give them positive reinforcement if they do something right. So you get this, and this done, then I'm gonna give you, buy you pizzas or buy you Red Bulls, or you get a $20 bonus on a day that you hit this, or different incentives. And you know, but I've seen a lot of like people scared to perform because they're scared, walking on eggshells essentially. And so that's one thing that I'm appreciative of is like every crew that I've had, on different sites or different houses or whatever, I'm build a very good team environment. So it's like I want them to do good to make money, of course, but I want them to do good and have respect for what they've done. But then also, it's kind of like they do good and they're excited to tell me that they did good because they knew that I'll give them good feedback instead of being like, oh shit, I got to get it done or he's gonna whip my ass. Like, oh crap. Instead, it's like, oh, I just finished these 3 in a row. Like, where's DJ at? I got to show you. Look at what I did. And then you're like, oh damn, Johnny, like you fucking kicked ass, bro. And they're like, yes, like let's do it again. And that's what I enjoy doing. And I even had my guys. My guys have had my back to the point where, like someone will come and try to like say something about me or they're like, that's not true. Or, someone tries to like check up on me and they're like, why are you going behind DJ's back, And then, and so that's one thing that I do respect when I see that because there aren't like, there was a crew, what were they doing at our job site? I think they were doing some welding or railings or something. And like one of the foremans, he was kind of like a boss instead of a leader. He's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And you could tell that the guys were like walking on eggshells. And I was like, I know how you guys are. I know what you guys are going through. So, but either way, that's one of those times where being analytical about who you're working with and then responding to what works best with them helps everybody work together. But yeah.
I mean, one thing that I admired in working with you and having you out on the job site was, in my opinion, you embody going the extra mile for everybody. Is that a learned skill or is that something that you've just always had?
I would say that's kind of a learned skill, but it's kind of like, you scratch my back and then I scratch your back. But there's a check and balances kind of to that because what I've noticed with other people is that it's hard to scratch people's backs to a certain degree and then, and not be taken advantage of.
Right.
Because it's a fine line between like just a giver all the time. Like,
sure.
I'll run over to like, okay, I've done this for you. Now you reciprocate something for me. And I've done this for you and you reciprocate something for me, or else we just stay in a standstill. Because there are the people who are just like, let me do this for you. Let me do this. And that's not how I am. But I would say I've learned the dynamics of having help from other trades when you might need something. And so and the respect part of things too. We're all out there. We're all, some of the other experiences I've had, with different PMs and stuff is like, don't touch this because that's not part of, don't do that, don't do this. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be a dick to somebody else, just because. And like and then when the time comes where I need something, people,
How much teamwork is there in the field between different trades?
um, it depends on what you're working on. So like, I didn't do doors with you guys, but so like if we're doing doors and like let's say that we need traffic coding done. Or for an example, I'll go back to my shit show job. I had to pull out 50 different windows that were all off grid line. So I had to pull out 50 windows that were already, caulked in and solidly on the building. And so when I did that, I had to get the windows out. I had to coordinate with the framers, pull off some of the wood bucking, reinstall the bucking somewhere else, coordinate with the waterproofers, waterproof the RO, and then throw the window back in. Let the brickies know it's done, so then they can do the returns next to the window. And
Yeah, I
then,
remember you working really well with our mason
yeah,
out in Inglewood as well. Because I mean, one person screws something up, it's weeks of work for everyone else in the area.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm sure you realize, but getting the windows in on a job, windows and exterior doors, I mean, that's a huge milestone.
yeah,
I mean, that's something that we put on our schedules as a milestone. We're dried in on this floor.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And so, just to be specific, it's like the two different types of helps that we're talking about. It's like there's like a tool help where it's just like I don't have anything to do with you, but like I've got a grinder, so you can use my grinder. That's just purely off of like I like you, like I trust you. You can have my stuff. Like there's that type of help. Then there's like helping you help me, which is like like I'll help you, but only because it helps me. So you get in situations where people may not want to help you, but they do. But what I've found is most times people will be willing to help you, and then just because they're being nice, but then it also inevitably helps them. Like, with the brickies, they're the ones who have the scaffolding usually. Usually they've got forklifts and different things like that. And so, I got to use their scaffolding to get access to the window on the exterior. And then sometimes they let you use your forklift to help, boost windows up to a higher level. So, it's always good to be nice to them. And they, their work is really hard. But on the other building that I was talking about, that was kind of like a shit show. They had, how many stories was that? I believe it was nine or 10 stories, but they had plank sectionalized. So whatever area the brickies were in, they had like, I'm not sure what the code is for that. You guys may know that better than me. But when scaffolding's going up to floor 10, like they have like 4 levels of scaffolding, then the rest is empty so that it's not too much weight. Then they'd move the scaffolding as the brickies move. And so if I'm over on the other side of the building and need access, they'd have to pull men off of the wall, move them over to where I was, and then build me plank, for 2 or 3 levels so I can access this section. And so I became good friends with one of the brickies over there, and he actually found the mistake because they were trying to blame it on us, and it turns out that the windows were all framed out of grid line by like 1.5 inches. And so they were telling me that and I think they had like a $2 million brick job. And so the brickies were like, our control joints need to line up with everything. And so we're like, you need me to move the window over 1.5 inches, and I only have like 3/8 to 1/2 inch of play. So how does that make sense? So it's like something else must be a problem. So because they were trying to blame us for all of the problems.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, dude,
Oh.
I'm telling you, yeah.
How many windows? Or it was windows and doors?
This was just windows.
Just windows?
Yeah, so there was probably collectively about 50 windows or so that were already in that I had to pull, and on every elevation, on 3 of the 4 elevations.
What did it come down to? Was it a survey bust?
No, so it was the framing never got QC'd. So the framing off of the grid line of the building was all off in a bunch of on a bunch of different locations. And so that meant that, like, this stack of windows is all off. And then, some looked like there'd be a little. That's why the panel system that you guys had is so much better than, like, framing up the exterior all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what they found out based on the degree of movement was, the framing was off, and of course they had the wooden bucking to make everything exact. But if the brickie, who I had been cordial with, like, we've been out there, doing good work, and then he respected what I was doing, and we had a respect. So he went the extra mile to go in the building, while he's got guys run tape, run measurements from, line to line and check everything step by step. And he found how much every single RO was off of on 3 elevations to help me out. So, I bought him beers. I bought him, I help him with whatever I could. And there's only so much I could help him with. And I was like, man, if if he didn't check that, they would have assumed that it was all on us. And so, that would have went back and like, caused a big issue for us. But
I want to ask you, were you ever interested in the construction industry before that time in your life? Like, did you ever think about it while you were in school or when you were choosing a degree? Because I know they have a good construction management program up there.
yeah, and so I honestly, I really didn't think about it. So this is gonna be kind of funny, but, like, I really didn't like construction when I was younger because it was always kind of, like, in the way. Like, I never really paid attention to building construction. Like, I was always curious about, like, how is stuff made. I've always had a science mindset. That's why I did science at school. I've always been like, how do you create this? Like, how is that done? And but my basic perception of construction was like, why are these motherfuckers cutting off 3 lanes of traffic? and, and so honestly, I was kind of annoyed with construction workers through the younger parts of my life because, you're trying to drive places and you don't understand what's going on. Like, we have there's another building coming up over here on Lincoln, and it's like, all I see is I've got to merge 2 times. And I'm like, these motherfuckers. But, other people are like, yeah, we've got a fucking 10-foot hole trying to get this sewer running, into the city system. But people don't know that. People don't really get, okay, you can drive straight and crash your fucking car, and or these people are going to be shitting in bags, if we don't get this, even though they do that anyway downtown. But so I think my perception, I wasn't really aware of like what was going on, and so I always kind of thought that construction was in the way, and I didn't really have a respect for what was in between that. Like, you're messy and you're getting this, and then my curiosity ended up winning because I'm like, I kind of like doing this. But in the beginning, I wasn't a huge fan of construction, which was kind of interesting. But based on the way my brain works, I'm like, I'm always curious. And then, like some of these other buildings where there's scope gaps or RFIs or something like that, like my shit show building, there's a scope gap for some moldings and stuff in between, when I came up with like a solution for that, and like the architects okayed it and we ended up doing it. So now every time I drive by there, I was like, I thought of that. See that? I show my kids, I'll be like, back in the day, your dad thought of that right there. It's just a piece of plastic, but I did that,
Was that one of your proudest moments in the industry, or do you have a proudest moment?
I would say, I mean, it is there's a lot of proud moments, but I'd say honestly, one of my biggest proudest moments was honestly probably with you guys, because of how quickly I did that building and the limited number of problems we had, plus with the number of guys that I had. So I think I probably did that the quickest with the least amount of guys and the least amount of problems. So after learning everything, I honestly think your job site was my biggest W. as far as overcoming problems, that other job site is probably my biggest success. And like I was saying before, I help out with like other supervisor issues, and I help out with materials, help out with supervisor meetings, help out with a bunch of other things. So a lot of the time, I'll start projects and then have to go do something, like help with something else, or there's something that takes priority, or we've got a problem that popped up, and if we don't get it fixed, it's we're gonna get we have like 3 weeks to fix it, or else it's a $50 back charge or something like that. $50,000 back charge. It's $50. 50,000 is a little different, but so I think as far as like totality, where I start and finish with my guys, on this, of course, keep in mind there's a lot of other little projects, but the little projects, I honestly like commercial over residential, just because it's like, I don't know. Some people do like the residential because there's less rules. I like commercial because there are rules. Maybe it's because I've all my years playing football, because it's like, you got to strap up and put your helmet on and get your cleats on, and then you're ready to bang, you're ready to go fuck shit up. It's kind of like that. You get into work, you put your vest on, put your gloves on, get your hard hat on. You're like, yeah, we're about to go build some shit, It's,
Yeah.
and the other thing that I like too, it's like you were saying, the windows and doors are like one of the first things that get on. So, we're working around like, it's just steel, concrete, and, that's like, and brick usually. And so it's like a lot of like, men in the industry. And so what I think is funny, like when I come back to fix stuff, not so much kind of like at your place, but sometimes I'll come back sooner than before people are living there. But like you come back when it's like the inside trades. I don't have anything against any of the other trades, and I've chosen what I'm doing because aesthetically I enjoy it. Like putting it on the building, making sure everything's level plumb, and then it's that's good and it feels good to do it. But like Sparkies and other stuff, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I don't want to look at. I get fucking anxiety just walking by those wires sometimes. I'm just like, God damn, they're pulling. They got to do what with those wires? And I'm like, no, my OCD is just, I'd be fucking going crazy, dude. And so, but what I was saying was like, we do spend a lot of time just like getting dirty and fucking sweaty and shit's broken and you're all bloody and shit. So then like, well, I'll come back to fix something when it's like, the people inside doing the like light stuff and like, the cleaning crew, and I'll turn the corner with my harness on and my bags and it's all fucked up. And I'm like making a lot of noise, like, and then people are like, oh fuck, who is that? Like, yeah, it's the window guys here. Like, I gotta get into room 202.
And you're usually scraping your bags across the finished drywall.
No. I learned
walking through a finished building with muddy boots.
Oh my, that's so okay. So let me elaborate, or let me rephrase. I remember I said almost finished. Like when it's finished, like yours, then I usually go do stuff with the least amount of people, because that is true. It's all a liability. You're like, even you bringing that up gives me anxiety, because I'm like, people will put their hammer in their bags, they turn the corner, fucking nicks the drywall, and you're like, fuck. You're like, if you haven't been there to watch people like check drywall or like go through all those checks, then you don't understand how each little ding, fingerprints even,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like it all gets a little piece of tape. And so it's like so my, like what I'm talking about was like coming back when like maybe there's no carpet down yet, and maybe you're just getting cabinets in or something like that. But it's like more of the inside crews, and the exterior is pretty much done. That's when I said I don't like to come back when people are living in them, or like they're finished all the way. And so I'm like, that is a little bit more anxiety, because like you were saying, it's like you don't want to touch anything. And even the other day, who was there? One of your guys was there, and I had my hard hat on, and he was like, well, you don't have to put that on. And I was like, I don't think you know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but I'm like, the window could fall out on me. Piece of the stuff can fall on my head. And I was like, I'll just keep it on, because really I kept it on because I had that like strap on football practice mentality. So, I got my cleats on, got my hard hat on, I'm like ready to go. And, but really though, um, when things are finished, I don't really like, finished is better than people living there. People living there is like, I guess I could tell you a couple of these stories. I did a couple retros where people are living there, and this is another area where my psychology and sociology I was paying attention, and so like we went into one house, and you have the fake nice lady. Oh, thank you guys so much. Like, oh, I'm so excited, and then like by the time we're almost done, she's like annoyed we're still there. Oh yeah, you guys still gonna be here? Oh no, you guys are great. Oh yeah, and I'm just like, all right, Nancy, shut the fuck up. and then we had like the the quiet lady, and keep in mind nothing's moved out of the way, so then I gotta touch everything, and it's like you break one thing, then people try to suck. I need a whole new couch now because and they're like, fuck, man, and but we had another lady she was probably the best. She was like quiet, stayed out of the way, and she offered like actual glass of water to us. I'm like, you don't want to know where my mouth's been. I'm like, but the notion of it was good, and she was really sweet, and I was like, you know what? Just because you went the extra mile for me, I'm going to make sure that this is extra, extra good just for you, even though, you're not living here forever because it was a apartment. But, it's little things like that. And the person where they're like,
I'm sorry.
What?
I just got to laugh.
Oh,
I think we need to pause real quick.
Okay.
And check the camera.
Oh, the camera's been off for a while.
Is it off?
Yeah. It's fine.
I looked over there, but oh my God, you're killing me.
What?
Oh, just with the little comments.
Yeah.
You don't know where my mouth's been.
Yeah. Shit. One of my friends was like, you should go into comedy. I'm like, it's got to be natural.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can finish your story. Where were you at?
No, you're good.
No,
You're good.
Finish it.
Oh, but no, what I was getting at was like, I'm happy you like that. That makes me feel good. I'm gonna keep it going if I have anything. But so we had another weird dude, and like I was like, this dude might be a sociopath because like his like interpretation of what we're doing in the room was just non-existent. So we ripped out like 11 by 8 door. It was like a 3-panel sectional door. Ripped it out with full tools.
Like a glass door?
Yeah, so it had 3 panels. It was like 11 across the bottom. Might have even been like 15 for some of them, and then the others a kitchen sliding door. That was probably like maybe 6 feet. No, probably 8 feet by 8 feet. But the whole time he's just sitting on his couch, like playing video games, and like just like didn't even act like we were there. This is fucking weird, dude. I'm like, we're literally tearing your shit apart, and like you're just sitting there and just like, oh no, yeah, what? Oh no, you guys know, yeah. And I'm like, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, where have I seen you before? Like I feel like it was like true crime something, and like it was just weird. But it was like that disassociation with like what's going on was like something interesting that came across me. And then the last people that I'll tell you about, the last people, it was like a couple who had just moved in there. And this is where my domestic violence like trigger was going off. And I was like, I think this lady, because this lady was like, we don't want you in our fucking apartment. And I was like, like, okay, you guys come back here. Then we went back, and they're like, no, you can't come. You can't look. My email says, and I'm like, don't get me started on like details, because I'll pull up emails right now, and we'll go. You'll sit your ass down. You can go to school, and I'll come in right now. But I was trying to be respectful, so I was like, okay, well, let me get with my PM. We'll get back to you. But then as soon as I didn't press her, she was like, oh no, it's okay. You guys can come in now. Because it's like she wanted that confrontation, and I was like, no, I just changed my schedule. we're doing this now. We'll come back tomorrow. But after I got into their apartment, like they have like so keep in mind when I was talking to her face to face, her dude was like standing behind her all like disgruntled looking. And I'm like, he's looking at like this 6'3" black guy. And I'm just like, I'm not here to take your girl or to fucking steal anything, bro. We're just trying to get shit done. And, but I could tell that like, it was more so like, he didn't want her saying the wrong thing or something. And so I was like, I have a feeling that like, he probably, it just felt off. And he had a bat right by the door. Like, you're living in a nice area in Colorado, but you had a bat next to your door. And so, it was just off a little bit. And, I think they had but they were the best at cleaning up the space for us. So, it was good. But it's a lot of these little situations in life where you can utilize those skills I was talking to you about. And it's like, be more knowledgeable about whatever situation you're in, and then you can edit however you handle it in a specific way. But we did get those doors done really nicely, and the doors that they had before were single pane, non-tempered glass. That was like the whole pieces of glass were probably like 5 by 8. Yeah,
sketchy.
Yeah, and so there's no door sweeps, no like smoke seals. So people are getting like water intrusion. And they've had these for so long.
Yeah.
And so that did feel good. Like the people who were appreciative, they were like, oh, I can't hear the wind outside. And I was like, yeah, like you're not going to hear the cars either. Like, your heating bill will be, and they're like, oh, I'm so grateful. And then, okay, let me clean this up a little extra for you. You help me, I help you.
Yeah.
Then there's a lady, why are you at my fucking house? Are you guys gonna leave yet? And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, see this shit right here? You clean it up yourself, bitch. But, not really, kind of. But
go ahead.
As a guy who excels in communicating well, excels in leading whatever you're doing for each task, what piece of advice or what kind of mentality mindset would you tell somebody who's in management or someone who's looking to pursue management in construction?
So the two things that I think I would want to tell them is keep things covered. Hold on, how should I say this? Basically, leadership, lead, don't be a boss, and then check, trust but verify. That's what I was going for. You can edit out before. So lead with leadership, no, don't be a boss. Trust but verify what your coworkers, the people who you're working with, and then once you lose trust, then then you can be a dick. Then you can, handle things accordingly. But always give people a chance, to do the right thing, because that's the one thing I've seen in this field is if you come out the bat not being respectful or being defensive, then, you will not make friends. And we're not here to make friends. We're here to all achieve a goal. And if you have people on your side that can help you to that goal, then keep them there. It's been plenty of times where I'm like, I just need, I have ladders at a different job site, or I've got, a T25 bid at a different job site. Maybe my friend can help me. Hey, buddy, you just happen to have a T25 bid. Oh yeah, I got you. You know what? Keep that. Don't even worry about it. And then you want that over like, don't bother me. Like, oh, I'm going to go get it. Like, I don't need your help, like mind your own business, don't do that. And then as far as leadership goes, like I mentioned earlier, that team dynamic, having people wanting to do good or achieve a goal, not because they're forced to, and as a team is was one of the best accomplishments with people that I think I remember, because, people would be excited that we got 20 out of 20 done, or people be excited, oh, that whole floor is done now. Oh, hell yeah. Not too many problems. And then having people come and show me how good they've done based on what I taught them, that really felt good. And, running people based off of being scared, it never works out good. Like, okay, you may have control over everything for yourself, but the only person who's winning is yourself. And then you end up losing because you end up losing, everything, the whole work dynamic that you're trying to build. But that's one of those things where you recognize that the person who's being bossy is really just more kind of self-centered. It's like you're bossing for an outcome that benefits you. You're being bossy because it makes you feel better because you can micromanage. Now, back to what I was saying, trust and verify. If you're not being micromanaged, you give people the benefit and then they cross you over, then you cut it. Like when I give one of my guy the opportunity to be safe, and then okay, I trust you, and then I verify you're fucking up. I give you warning number 1, and then I tell you what's the consequences of number 3. So you mess up again, strike number 3. I don't even have to get mad because you know what's going to happen. Now I just sneak a picture and send it to the supers. And so
on the flip side, solid advice for management. What would you tell? Do you have any advice for someone that would be not a part of management, someone that's coming in to basically start from scratch, knows nothing. They're just wanting to break into this industry. They don't really know what they want to do. What would your advice be for someone like that?
So my advice for somebody like that would be consistency. So the one thing that I learned through the years that I was working, you think you can't do something, but then if you just keep at it, sooner or later you'll break through that threshold. And then the one thing that's great about construction is you learn these skills and you learn these abilities and they stick with you. It's like it's not always like riding a bike. You do need to refresh and you need to be practiced at certain things. But a lot of it is like the value that you create as you learn is the best value that you can have, because experience in different areas that trumps anything else. And more on a physical side of things, the one thing I noticed about construction is like the cornbread fed blue collar thing. I was explaining this to a girl once. I think she liked it, but I was like, people don't understand that like everything that we do is heavy. Especially when you're in the field, it's like your bags are 70 pounds. Your material that you're picking up, the boxes of caulking or boxes of mud, like that shit's fucking heavy. Then your drill, depending on what kind you're using, that's heavy. Extension cords, heavy. Everything is heavy. So over time, like if you're brand new, everything's gonna feel heavy, but physically you'll have like those little muscle fibers. And then you're like, my bags are all of a sudden not heavy. So like if I'm working on the exterior, when I've got my harness on and my bags, if I work like that for, a month or so, whenever I'm walking around without those on, I feel like I have an extra little pep in my step because you're accustomed to working like that. And so, but there's a lot of like, we call it like window strength, because it's like your shoulder, like you pick the windows, it's a lot of shoulder and a lot of like forearm strength because you're lifting and moving and stuff. And it's like, you acquire it over simply just repetitions. You put the reps in, but once you have it, it's hard to get it to go away because you may not use it all the time, but it's like you have that technique there. And, back to what I was saying before, it's one of my lines with the ladies. I'm just like, yeah, I could have been picking up 200-pound windows all day. I'm like, what do you weigh? Oh, what? Like $110? I could toss you across my living room right now. But no, I don't use that line. But
how do you take care of yourself just for your own longevity with having such a physical job?
Back to what we were talking about in the beginning. So health and human sciences that I went to school for, this is another area where I can benefit more education on how to sustain myself for right now. So like I've learned about different kind of like supplements and stuff like that. So as far as like with lifting and different things like that, I have a supplement regimen that I usually take when I'm doing like the production part of uh of projects. So like let's say I'm going to be lifting all the time. So then I'll take more of like your creatine, pre-workouts, different things like that. I also use Red Bull sometimes sparingly, because that one energizes like my body and my brain. Coffee just gets my brain awake. My legs still feel horrible. And then there's like a safe a safe I remember there was D-ball back in the day, but that was an anabolic steroid. They remade a D-ball. It may or may not be okay. I don't know, but that's one of the ones that I took that I liked a lot. You just like, you know, just walking miles in the site can get exhausting. So it's one of those things that gives your body an edge as far as healing and stuff like that. There's like collagen supplements. One of the easiest ones is just hydration. That was one of the things I learned getting into the work field. I was like, you don't want to lose time and have to drink water and then have to pee and do whatever. But if you're chugging, drinking as much water as you can until you don't feel like drinking water, then you actually sweat more of it out. And then you stay hydrated and everything. Okay.
What about what about mentally? I know you deal with the stress of the job site and hitting timelines and all that. How do you take care of yourself mentally?
That is honestly probably the hardest part that takes the most work, because if you lose control of that, then everything just spirals down. And I guess I would say I kind of compartmentalize what is like actually physically capable versus what's on my plate of list of things to do. And so it's like, if I was to want to try to succeed in doing everything that I'm doing, I would go crazy. And so a lot of times on some of these job applications, they say one of the skills is like being able to prioritize and being able to have like a hierarchy of like jobs you need to get done. So thinking through things is probably a skill that I like. And honestly, I don't know. I know I talked with Cody about this, but I don't know if you know or not. But I'm in the Freemasons, and so one of the skills that Freemasons gives you is your mental capacity. So a lot of the work that goes on within the fraternity is just brain work. So it's a lot of learning different things, studying, memorization. But then I noticed when I succeed at memorizing something for them, that flows over into my everyday life. And I'm like, I've got to do X, Y, and Z for work, but that's nowhere near as hard as like what I just did. And so it puts things in perspective a little bit, And so, unfortunately, as far as with management, some of the skills to be, level-headed and keep your shit together is hard. It's hard because you get shit coming from every single angle, and then that's just with everything going good. You have shit coming from every single angle, then you have X, Y, and Z problems that come up, and then you have the stuff that you forgot about, and so it can become very, very overwhelming. And so you just have to be able to keep your composure and then just be realistic. What could you actually do, and then whatever you need to get done, just make sure it gets done as best as possible. Because the other thing that I've learned is if you cut corners, you save time at that moment, but you will lose time sooner or later. And because what's that equation? It's like if you want something good, then it's not going to be cheap. And if you want something that's good and fast, then it's or how does it go? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The three-legged stool.
Yeah.
You get two legs.
You get two of the three. Yeah. So it's like cheap, fast, and good quality. And you can't have all three of them at the same time. And that shit's true. Because like I've been on job sites where it's like if you want it fast and good, then you better fucking pay me more. And if you want it to be good but not fast, or if you want it to be, you know, slow. Wait. God damn it.
Hey, I'm gonna pause it real quick. Just
Yeah.
'cause-
So in construction, we work with some of the most entertaining people. I'd say good and bad. Do you have
Yeah.
any good stories that you'd like to share, or a couple of good stories?
I as far as fun things that I've done where they're maybe sketchy and ended up being enjoyable would probably be my experience with machines, because everybody looks at the machine, oh, that's easy, oh, that's fun, and it's like when you really get up there, that's when you're like, oh shit. And so, just excuse me, just recently I had to get on a 1350 or 135. Oh, excuse me, sorry, which is uh, a man lift, and so I think I had to go up to the 11th floor. And you're like, you look up from the bottom, and you're like, oh, that's not too bad. I can deal with that. But so this lift, I think it was a Skylab. This lift had an articulated knuckle at the top, and so I'm getting up there, but I kind of like showed up by myself, and I was replacing a piece of glass. And this is funny to me because, the way I'm perception versus preception versus approach, that I'm like, oh, the guys are like looking at me like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. And like, obviously I do know what I'm doing, but I'm like, he's not look like I'm not worried about anything. But then in real life, I'm like shitting my pants, like fuck, like, oh shit. And so like, I think the like funny stories that I have is where you're like shitting bricks for a little bit, but then it ends up okay. And it's like for this example, I was had to go up to the 11th story, and it all sounds fine. But then when you get up there and you realize like you're pulling out a piece of glass that weighs probably like 80 pounds, and then you have nothing below you for like that millisecond of time, that's when you start getting into your head. But the thing that got my butt puckered the most was the knuckle. And so you're almost max extended. So, you're, on level story number 11. And then, my ass, what am I, like maybe 220, 230? Even by myself, the bucket moves a lot. So I'm like, oh yeah, let me just move this articulated. And this was no, it's not a JCB. It was like a Skylab, one of the orange lifts. And the Genies, which are blue, the orange lifts have like a stronger, like hydraulic fluid pressure up there by the basket. And so when
sensitive.
Yes. And so, I had it turned down to the turtle, and I'm like, and then I had it turned down to the turtle. And then when what did I have to do? I had to move one of the certain, I think I had to go, I think I had to boom out. So I turned it back up to boom out faster, and I never turned it back down. So I hit the articulated knuckle to go to the left, and I'm 11 stories up, and I go to the left fucking hard, just like, oh shit. And the whole thing is like, woo. And I'm just up there like, fuck. I'm like, and the guys on the ground like, oh, amigo. I'm like, no, we're good. Yeah, bro, I'm good. On the inside, I'm like, fuck my underwear.
What does that machine look like when you're 11 stories up?
It looks small.
Yeah.
It looks small. And it's like, and
It looks like there's no way it should hold you up when you're that high.
No, I know. And honestly, just for my own mental, this is like what I was talking about before. Like, you got to have your perceptions of like things that make you stay cool. Like like when I'm doing my check on the machine, I'm just like, look at how big the wheels are. Look at how big they are. When we get up there, just remember that this big ass fucking wheel is holding. Remember that even though it looks small, remember that you're good. But even when you get up there, you're like, oh fuck. But then when something happens that's unexpected, you fucking, everything shakes, and then the machine on the bottom is like, and everybody's like, whoa, what the fuck? Okay, paso, amigo. And I'm just like, oh shit, the authentic guys think I'm faking up here. And so, I'd say that was probably the most recent time where I was like, I had a good laugh after that, because once you get it done, like once you get something completed, especially after like, doing stuff like that, which obviously when everything's checked, everything's good, you got gas, hydraulic fluid's good, you don't have to worry about anything, right? And so you always make sure everything's checked, so you know that you're good. You know the machine is not going to go out of any certain area that it's not supposed to, but you still have that in the back of your head. You're like, what if? You're like, even if I lose hydraulic pressure, I'll go down faster than I want, but I won't plummet. But it's still scary in the back of your head. And so I just remember, usually, like you're saying, you ease the controller. Sorry, you ease the controller, but then I just fucking cranked that shit. And bro, I'm telling you, my fucking little Peter went all the way back up in there. My fucking butthole puckered up like a motherfucker. And I was saying shit in Spanish I didn't even know. and but on the outside, I was, no, we're good. I still I was still trying to, cause I was like, in my head, I'm like, somebody just watched that from a window and they're just like, oh no, he still got it. So it was fun. It was fun. This was before I had any glass or anything on there. Like I was just getting,
You were just practicing.
I was getting the machine in position to deglaze the first piece.
Yeah.
So then I was just like, okay, let's not fuck that up again. And then when you get back down to the ground, to reality, and then all the guys are looking at you and they're just like, you gotta be like, yo, no, I meant to do that, like, yeah. Oh, no, I was cool. I didn't fucking shit myself. Like, oh, where's the bathroom at again? Like, my bad. But
so you're bilingual. When did that come into play in your life?
So this is what I tell people. I'm like, I'm decent. I'd probably say like 75% work language.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could hire somebody and have them work very well in Spanish. Like donde está proyecto? Like, stuff little simple. But if I went out on a date with a Spanish lady, I'd have no idea so I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I've learned a lot of words that when I say fluent in Spanish, I mean like culturally. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't go to a quinceañera or anything and like talk with everybody. Like they'd say something, I'd be like, ¿Dónde está trabajo? But
you did hold your own though. When I was having a conversation, you chimed in Spanish. It blew my mind.
Yeah,
blew my mind.
Yeah, and well, so like for work, I think I worked with some guys from Venezuela back when they were being sent/brought allowed in here. And sorry. Did I tell you guys I'm a pretty red black guy too? Anyway, so I worked with them. They were all wonderful guys in the beginning. And so I told myself, am I going to have them learn English or should I try and learn Spanish? So I just tried to like pick up like measurements at first, and I also took Spanish in school, but other thing I learned is like the Spanish in school is not the same as Spanish in day-to-day living.
Yep. You're 100% right.
And so I just tried to pick up on like things that they would say, like chamo or parcero, or, one of the things I've been working on is rolling my R's. So, I trabajo and stuff. I can roll a little bit, but like perro, I'm not great at rolling the double R's. And that's why the girls don't like me enough. They're like, you can do one roll, but not two. And I'm like, I'm working on it. But, the other thing that I noticed is like, if you start saying things in Spanish and they definitely appreciate, like the Spanish culture, they appreciate you trying, And that's the other thing with the Spanish culture. As soon as I was ever nice to them, this goes back to what I was talking to you about, like building bridges with people instead of like just being like, get the fuck out of my way. Like, I'd be like, buenos dias, like, ¿qué pasa, amigo? And then you build that respect. And so you're like, oh shit, I don't have a drill. And then, you're just like, ¿dónde está taladro? And then be like, oh, ¿tú necesito taladro? Like, sí. And then I said, oh, si yo tengo dos taladros. And you're like, oh shit, like, yeah, I'll take a drill. and then so it's like, um, just me being friendly was like beneficial for them. But I had a couple friends, lady friends back in the day, and one of them spoke Spanish, and I'm like, you want to work tomorrow at 8? I'm like, trabajo mañana, but I was like, you want to go out and get drinks or something like that? I couldn't. I was like, that's something I'm working on actually. But my project manager, he loves the Spanish ladies. He likes them spicy, and but I did have a moment. I had a lady friend. She's just like a work friend, and uh but I hadn't been on this job site for a little while, and I'm like, now I see why some people get addicted to the ethnicity. And she hadn't seen me for a little while, and I just hear this like DJ, and I was like, oh shit. I'm like, she's like, I miss you, mi amor, and I was like, oh fuck. I'm like, who is that? I'm like, shit. I'm like, where's my hot sauce? Because we're about to dive in some taco, and, and I was like, oh shit. Yeah, and so I was like, damn. I was like, no. I was like, now I see where people come from. They're getting all dreamy. I'm like, you said my name in Spanish, kind of. I was like, that's hot. But that's aside from the fact. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to grow my Spanish vocabulary, but it's basically just all work site stuff. But another thing I was going to elaborate on that is a lot of times some people will like be talking shit, or they'll talk like about you, or they'll say shit that they don't think that you can understand anything. And I'll say like a couple of different sentences. Maybe that's all I can say, but I'll say it good. And then they're like, oh shit, what is this person going to like maybe? And then all of a sudden they shut up. And you're like, oh, I thought you were just saying a bunch of shit. Now that first time on an elevator ride, and then you say like, thank you very much to the lady, or something that's where like more not more cultured, but more like authentic than like, gracias, like from school. Instead of you say like something that's more authentic, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh shit, that guy might know what I'm saying. And then people say less. But I did have a couple times where I upset my crews, because they're trying to do something, and they knew what the parameters were, and if they didn't achieve it, they didn't get it, or something along those lines. Or I think what they were mad about was that they've messed something up, and I made them go back. And when you go back to fix something, if it's like a detail that's manufacturer related, then you get paid for that. But like if it's something that you directly did wrong and you knew what you're doing, then I'm like, maybe I don't want to pay you to fix your problems when you knew you were doing it wrong. So there's a couple times where they knew what they were doing and they intended to do it wrong to be faster, so I didn't pay them to fix it. And that day, boy, they were fucking like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I can talk fast too, you motherfucker. Like, can you understand what I'm saying? Like, let me call someone. Yeah, this motherfucker doesn't know what the fuck I'm talking about because he's talking shit right now. And I'm like, yeah, you want to talk fast in Spanish? I'll talk fast in nigga. All right, I'll talk fast at work. So I'm like, two can play at this game.
Oh, well, DJ, we have about 15 minutes left, so I want to ask you some of these questions real quick. So not only are we just trying to provide a podcast for people to listen to that they can relate to and hear these stories from a guy that's doing something in the same industry, but we also want to inspire people to enter the trades. I think there's a big push for everyone to go into a white collar career, into some sort of management position, and it's just not sustainable for our industry. I mean, I'm sure you know. I mean, it's hard to come by good, motivated guys,
right,
that are gonna last and work their way up through the trades. So, one question for you. So, do you think now is a good time for a young person to enter the trades in the construction industry, and why?
Yes, I would say now is a very good time. And a lot of that revolves around the milestones that are being created from artificial intelligence. And so, certain jobs that are done at a computer, or they're busy work, or it doesn't take much skill to learn them. Even truck driving, like I've seen the moppers, like a lot of these jobs are being taken over, and it's only a matter of time until more and more jobs get taken over by artificial intelligence or certain coding on machinery. But the
Do
one
you
thing,
think your job is replaceable by AI?
not by AI. No, not immediately. The one thing that we were joking about as far as windows go, as soon as they figure out how to put a window on a prefab, then we're fucked. But all you have to do is just, you have to transition how you're doing the work. You're like, okay, the windows are on the prefab, which they cannot do successfully yet. Maybe they can put the frame, but you still have to glaze them. But then you just transition from doing the work at the construction site to whatever factory is putting the window on the prefab. It still needs to be done. And some of the details that go into it is like fine details, which is hard to do mechanically, because even the prefabs are fabricated by people, I believe. Are they? Are some
Yeah.
of?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so they're not going to be able. Well, it'll be a long time until they build, a big cage over a plot of land and build a building from the ground up. So as far as supervising and as far as like trades physically doing the work, they've come out with things to make it easier for us, but you're just not gonna surpass a person doing it for a while, and the day that it comes when they can, machines or intelligence AI can do what we're doing, then I think we're gonna have a couple other problems on our hands. And so, I think as far as being in the blue collar work, I think that we even construction over like some of these farmers, because the farming equipment even has like GPS in it now, and
Mhm.
it's like you still have to do certain things, but they're getting less and less things. For next thing you know, you're gonna have an automated what is that machine automated crop machine. I don't know the technicalities of farming. I'm sorry. But you know what I'm saying.
Those run on GPS now. You can plug in coordinates and it can do its own thing.
Without people in it?
Mm.
Yeah, my point exactly.
So do you think your skill set? Do you think the demand for your skill set is going anywhere in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years,
And not just your skill set as in installing windows and doors, but your skill set as a tradesman.
right.
You can do a lot more than windows and doors. We all know that.
Yeah,
And those skills have been developed over years,
right.
right? And that's the only way to get those skills.
Yes, yeah. And all honestly, I don't see any tremendous changes coming to like our field as far as construction goes, whether it's tradesmen or supervising, because somebody's got to be there to physically walk the building. Somebody's got to be there to do the work. Sure, we'll have new tools to help us do the work better, but you can't put a robot into a room and be like, do this. You could maybe, but you will still need somebody managing all the other aspects of it. But in 10 years, I don't see much changing, There's different tools that have been made to make our work easier and better. But as far as like zero human like influence or all being automated, yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
And not just not just like human replacement, but you also can't just put an inexperienced person
Oh
in
yes,
charge of installing a 8x8 window 14 stories up. Like
yeah, yes, and
so the experience, the skills, like
yeah,
there's going to be a demand for it.
I see what you're saying. And so I would say most definitely, based off my experience with like coming out of school and stuff like that, the sooner you get into it, the better, because experience trumps. Well, okay, schooling is important, but experience is like the do all, say all, because you get experience on these different things, X, Y, and Z, but also experience on these types of problems. It's hard to materialize problems that come up in the field, because most of the time they're unexpected.
Mhm.
Like, oh shit, this protrusion's supposed to be here. Like, oh shit, that's, you know. And so the more experience you get, the better. But I'd say the sooner you start, if you have any interest, the better off also. And the other thing about the trade is, as you grow in experience, which that knowledge can't be taken from you unless, you know, something catastrophic happens, like a CTE or something. But as your experience grows, what people need to pay you grows. And so you can always, the more you know, the more you make. The more you know, the more you make. And then sooner or later, you know, your money's going off into other things where you can invest in stock market and different things like that. And then your different types of income come to fruition. But that'll be a story for another day.
For sure. One thing that I've been dying to know in scheduling you out to come visit with us, what are some specializations within your trade that most people don't know
Um,
that you do on a day to day?
like as far as with so I would say one thing that people don't really understand with the exterior windows is the struggle with maneuvering them and actually putting them on putting them on the building, because everyone sees them. Oh, that's clear. Oh, it's plastic. You know, that doesn't weigh very much. Like, how hard could it be? You know, then they don't realize that this piece of glass weighs 200 pounds. And so, whenever you're putting it, like the normal fashion of putting them on the building, and even with the prefab, there's always seconds of where shit's fucking sketchy. And so, in order to place a window onto the building, the entire window needs to be out of the building, not touching anything for a couple seconds at one time. Because you get the whole window out, then you stick the top out, stick the bottom out, and then you set the bottom in and push the top in. So when you stick the top out, when you get that bottom out, the whole window is out of the building, and the only people keeping it from crashing down is you and your guys. And so if anything goes wrong, like you set it on there in the wrong spot and you're not on the ledge, keep in mind that half the window is sitting on the building, the other half is floating in the air. So you have 50% of the window that weighs 200 pounds to land in one spot with 0.5 of an inch degree of error, and you have one shot to do it when you go to execute. And so I think that's one of the things that no one knows unless you do it. And so it's like the actual challenge of doing it smoothly.
And you're doing it hundreds of times
Yeah.
on a project.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's like a rinse and repeat, but you know, that's one thing that I kind of like also is like that excitement, you know, every single window. Of course, there's littler ones where you go through the motion and you're like, that's easy. But a scary thing that happened, maybe can end on this story, but the scary thing that happened is I had a 350-pound window at this shitty job site, and I had two greenhorns, and I was like, should I try to? And then I had a gap in the scaffolding where, you know, it's supposed to be, I think, 12 inches or something like that. And then this one was like 24 inches or so. It was like double the size. And it was like gradually getting bigger because of the design of the building. And we were on the 9th floor, I think. And I had two greenhorns and one good guy on the inside. I'm on the outside by myself. And of course, I'm getting pressure from my PM to get shit done. We're behind schedule a little bit because we had to rebuild the opening because it was wrong. And so they had just put down waterproofing. They just put down waterproofing. And they had just put down waterproofing. And so this was I believe it was 13 by 8, I believe. 13 by 7. So it was 13 feet wide, 7 feet tall. And it was 350 pounds, and I'm on the outside. And so my two greenhorns, bless their soul, and my good guy, they're on the inside. And to get the really big windows out, you have to put it at a 45-degree angle. You get the one side of them out very far, like maybe 5 feet outside of the building. And then the other side, you have to kick the bottom out, try to get it in there. So they're getting the bottom out on the right, and they're trying to get the bottom out The bottom's out on the right, all the way sticking in like maybe 5 feet out of the building. They're trying to get the last corner out. The guy goes to kick the last corner, steps in the wet waterproofing, slips, loses the weight of the window. I catch it on my leg, and they drop. Two of the guys drop, and I caught the window on my leg, like the 350 pounds, and I fucking hold the weight so they can took them about 6 seconds to readjust the cups, resuction it, which that's a long time and I'm looking down. I'm like,
while you're on scaffolding.
Yeah, while I'm on wood plank scaffolding, and
Yep.
I'm like, I'm not gonna let this window fucking fall. And so I had to go in the beast mode and so they took the weight of the window, and all I did coming up was just shove that motherfucker back inside because it dropped probably maybe a foot and a half. And so it dropped, landed on my leg. I've got my leg pressed against the fucking siding, and I'm pushing the window inside. I'm like, I'm gonna flatten back in football mode. I don't care I fucking broke framing, broke fucking drywall, broke fucking plumbing, fucking shoved that shit in fucking everything. And I pushed it in, and the guys fell down backwards, and they're pulling in, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck what's broken. I'm not dropping a window. And then keep in mind that window is probably worth $6,000 to $7,000. Right. So I'm like, yeah. So that was probably my scariest moment where I almost lost it. But
Terrifying.
Yeah.
One last thing. Again, we only have a couple minutes left. But,
yes.
What's one thing that you wish you would have known when you started in this field that you know now?
The one thing I wish I would have done sooner was maybe get. It's not really a trade thing, but it's the importance of knowledge and certifications. I wish I would have gotten some more certifications sooner. So got man lift, rigging, forklift, scaffolding, swing stage. But I kind of didn't really think that they were that important. But I know the faster you get certifications, the more you can do, and the more you grow your knowledge. So I'd say one of the things is just keep moving forward and keep learning.
So to close up, what is your final message to a young person or their parents that's on the fence about a career in trades?
My final message would be try it. I think that's one of the things that I missed out on. A lot of things was I was scared to try certain things. And until you do it, you never know. And, don't be scared about how much something may weigh. Don't be scared about the dangers because, as long as you pay attention, then you'll be good, But if you don't know, you never know. You may be the best forklift driver out there, but you don't know until you get behind the wheel of one, right? And so if there's any questions, just try it and see what happens. And you may open up doors. Like for me, maybe if I had started construction earlier instead of being annoyed by lanes, I could have been further in my career. So, if you have a thought, just try it and see how it goes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today.
No problem. Hopefully I'll be back again. I'll give you guys a good update.
Yeah, perfect.
Love to have you.
AJ.